everyone, and welcome to another episode of Breaking Into Cybersecurity, CISO Thursdays. I'm here with Renee Small, my amazing co host, and Val from CFF, who's going to talk a little bit about that foundation and some of the things that we're doing to tackle the cyber problem of today, tomorrow, and the future. Before we get there, for everyone following us on LinkedIn, follow us, connect with us, ask us questions because we're really here to help individuals as well as leaders tackle those cybersecurity problems that we're going to talk about today. For those of you following us on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and that notification button. That way, you'll see us pop up the next time we go live. And for those of you on podcast, feel free to share it with all your friends and family. So let's start our session of today. Renee, how are you doing today?
Hello, sir. I like your intro better than mine. You had so thorough. You don't forget anything. I always forget something. I am
Good
well.
practice, good practice. And
That's
then
right.
Val from Cyber Future Foundations. Yeah, make sure I say it right. Val, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's start with your background. How did you get
Sure.
into cyber?
Sure, and thank you for having me, Chris and Renee. Great to be here. I've seen a couple of podcasts from the other side as an audience, and of course, you've got a amazing fan base within CFF, especially within the CFF leadership team that have really been fascinated by the work that you have done, the awareness that you have raised. So, kudos to you, and thank you for having me. I'm really honored. Um, I have to keep practicing my introduction because Chris, just like you, went through it very quickly, so smoothly. Mine changes every time, and up until recently, I used to be with EY as the managing director for cyber security on the energy sector, and was responsible for Americas. And a month now. With Cyber Future Foundation, we have a new business, with a new co that is being set up, and a lot of fascinating, work that's being done with the community and working with folks that are close to and have been part of CFF to create new, avenues for supporting our community. So overall, I've been in the cyber industry one way or the other for the last 20 years, and seen through different even name changes for the cyber industry. So I'm sure we'll talk about that, and hopefully we can share some of what I have done in my background, and also relate to how you are trying to get more people to join cybersecurity industry. So great to be here.
Thank you. And I don't think a lot of folks might not be aware of what Cyber Future Foundations was. I know I wasn't when someone first asked me about it and did my digging and found out maybe it was just a website at the time that needed some updating, which is why I wasn't sure about it. But yeah, tell us about how the Cyber Future Foundations got developed, because we're chatting before we went live, and that's a really interesting story.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it's the Cyber Future Foundation just came about probably the right time to get a lot of the things that got started. Around that time frame, 5-6 years down the line, we are seeing those changes. And as I mentioned, like earlier, speaking with you, that I'm a serial social entrepreneur. I've spent a lot of time in spinning up and helping and supporting nonprofits. My first one was a Cloud Security Alliance, where we worked to put together a huge organization that it is today. But starting off with a handful of people, just making sure that the cloud security roadmap and the guidances are evolved and prepared properly. And 12 years back, it was all a hype, and we're not sure which direction we're going, right? Um, but working through that gave me a tremendous amount of experience and exposure to the problems and challenges that we see across the board, not only within the cyber realm, but also how businesses make decisions, how organizations use technology, and how those affect eventually the larger macroeconomic or national security issues. It's just like probably things happen around dinner tables. Two of my friends and colleagues from the industry and one from the federal government side, and a few of others were talking about how to make sure that we get cybersecurity into the board discussions, make sure that they're part of the C-suite discussions, make sure that the national leadership, whether it's from the from his industry, the captains of the industry or the national leaders, they understand the implication of cyber. It's not just technology, right? There is so much of other aspects that are involved. There's policy, there is risk management, there's finance, there's technology innovation, so many ways to, or so many aspects to consider on cyber. So one of those discussions was with one of my good friends, Robert Rodriguez, and it was Admiral Rogers at the time, was the NSA director, and all around the dining table or dinner table was how can we make that happen from a public-private partnership side. So I kind of raised the hand and said, okay, I already do this through my other avenues. Let me go give it a shot. And we started CFF. Literally, that we used to call it Cyber Peace Alliance, and it didn't go much, right? So the interesting fact is, it started off as Cyber Peace Alliance, and it was like, well, what is cyber peace? It's Greenpeace, like you're an activist type, like. And at that time, you can imagine activism and cyber was not the good thing, not even now. so we had to rebrand it, and the next year we met again. I was like, well, what have you done? I was like, just getting started. So, but that was a serious business at the time. There were so many challenges, so many breaches happening, and the boards were getting like moved out, CEOs fired, but nothing really was making any impact, right? So it needed a very serious conversation around that. So on my flight back from the dinner, I put together the constitution of CFF, and my good friends like Harold Collum, who I worked with in Dallas at the North Texas Crime Commission at the time, and Dave Marvel, who just retired from DHS. They all came together to support. So we started Cyber Future Foundation practically as a platform for cyber leaders to connect with business and national leaders, so that they can make informed decisions based on the real experts who are actually on the field, right? And we have maintained that tradition for the longest time. And probably we should pay attention to our website and everything, but it's all about action. We don't produce a lot of things, kind of white papers and all. We are absolutely action oriented. So when we get together in our annual meeting in Cyber Future Summit in October, we go through a laundry list of issues that our cyber leaders and our business leaders collectively think that they need to solve. And then from those 20 odd issues, we land on 5+1 model is what we've landed on. So 5 durable problems that need to be solved, plus 1 emerging problem, current affairs issue that needs to be solved. That 5+1, then we go to Davos at our Cyber Future Dialogue. I mean, last 2 years have been crazy to say the least, but we have been able to take them to a global forum and be able to have consistent solutions for this community and for the wider cyber community. And many of the practices, discussions, and approaches that you see a lot of the cyber leaders follow today were one of those discussions at CFF that happened, right? So it's an executive leadership forum with a focus on getting solutions made available to to the cyber community, and practically that can be turned into cyber program or cyber program practice.
Wow, that's I love the positive aim to action, and I know one of those actions that are coming out of your last board meeting is the Cyber Talent Week. Tell us about the mission behind that.
Yeah, no, that we are excited and really thrilled about the Cyber Talent Week, and with what all the preparation that's going on, you would probably see, March 18th, we're going to finalize the agenda and all the structure. But it was one of the call to actions for the cyber leadership team, is that we had about 35 sessions this time. In each of the sessions, the one big topic was that we need more people in this business. We need to break the barrier to entry. We need to, address the disconnect that we have. It's not just that there is dearth of talent. There is actually a lot of people who and candidates who are willing to come in and jump in. How, as cyber leaders, how can we make sure that we're able to give them that opportunity? And Renee, probably you deal with this every day, right? That there are people who want to come in, but there are leaders who are hesitant to give them an opportunity, right? So what we decided is that let's not just do 1 hour of roundtable or half a day, or we'll just contribute or commit one full week talking about the different aspects of cyber security talent. And that's how Cyber Talent Week came about. And to give opportunity for every area and region to talk about. So we said, let's look at this as a North American initiative, scan the country and the nation from like the top, from the left to right, and throw the spotlight on each state or province in Canada who are working on specific resource issues of talent, cyber talent there. And that way, what would happen is, we know there are certain things that we do well. So, for example, in Texas, we've got a lot of resources and a lot of hubs, and East Coast and West Coast gets fairly a fair amount of exposure in terms of cyber talent as well as opportunity. But with COVID, something changed, right? I mean, everybody can work remotely. Now we should be able to tap into the talent. See, when I was at EY and prior to the Deloitte and Cognizant America Cybersecurity, in each of those programs, I mean, I had the mandate to hire hundreds and hundreds of cybersecurity professionals, right? And the way I had to go about them is, one of my leaders are going to put together a job, post. They will approve the headcount and the budget. We know what level and all that. And then it goes back to the talent team. The talent team would have to get people to move to places, or they have to go to a client. I think with one thing that has come about with this remote work is that we can actually tap into talent anywhere and everywhere. So we said we're going to scan the entire country. So now we have broken this up into 3 regional conferences and 2 days of national conference. So if you're in the West Coast, Pacific and Mountain time zone, you have 18th. We are kicking off the Cyber Talent Week. Central region we are doing on the 19th. 20th, we're looking at the East Coast, and then continuing to the national, conference on the 21st and 22nd. So you've got about 50 to 60 hours worth of programming. About 200 leaders have signed up, and there will be more coming. And that's why I see in about 4.5 months. I mean, this team is amazing. You probably kind of interacted with some of our CFF volunteer team leaders. Catherine, shout out to Leah, and everyone in there. They're trying to make sure that if there's a problem, we find a way to solve this. And the Cyber Talent Week is one of those ways of bringing the community together around a very important topic that needs to be solved. We need to make sure the candidates know how to break into cybersecurity in the industry. I mean, recruiters like Renee, you have the tools to identify, and be able to qualify candidates, and the cybersecurity leaders who really need the help of all of us have ways to engage them, whether as an internship or an apprenticeship or as full-time employees, right? So this is really a drill down on that for an entire week. So I invite you and your community to join that Cyber Talent Week and make it absolutely successful.
And what are like some of the things that you've seen previously in conversations with the leaders that you've mentioned that we can do to improve the talent pipeline and kind of create a sustainable model that can be used across small and medium-sized businesses, and then potentially something that larger organizations can use? Because there's repeating patterns that we see, whether it's on the candidate side, the education side, or the hiring side, that causes gaps or breaks in the process that could be improved.
Yeah, no, great question, Benny. Yeah.
No, I just want to add that I'd be curious to hear your experience, because you came out of the Big Four, where I know that they tend to get people who are early career, entry level, college grads, and grow those folks. Mm-hmm. So I'd be just curious to hear your experience with that, because as you said, you had budget and headcount of hundreds of cyber professionals. So I'm wondering if that is going to be your expertise and best practices will be shared during this talent week.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just Val, it's going to be Val plus 50 times. I think we are all wanting to share where we see the roadblocks are, and hopefully collectively we can make that solution. This is not like, as a practice lead, say I had 400 people in my team. So this 400 people are at different levels of skill set and experience, right? One thing that I can tell from my vantage point is that it's very difficult, and probably as a cybersecurity professional, you can appreciate, especially this community, that it's very difficult for someone in my position or one of my partner CISO's position to give someone who has not got the experience to get their hands on critical systems, right? I mean, every system in business is critical when it comes to security. Nobody wants to take a chance, and that's the risk we are trying to mitigate, right? And the challenge is, for any of those work that needs to be delivered, whether in development or pre-production or production, whether it's finance or it's customer facing, you need to have some real experience to do that, to make, to implement, to design, to implement, to configure. Now, how can we make sure that that experience can be had prior to actually using that experience in a live production environment, right? So that is the magic that needs to happen. But it's not magic, it actually is very much doable, and that's what we're doing from a CFF side as well. And that's our new venture. You'll see us announcing, probably we'll do a little teaser or preview for this community before, but that's exactly what we are trying to handle. There is a gap between when students come in, or entry-level career seekers come into cybersecurity with an expectation, versus where we are expecting them to perform immediately, right? And then you can imagine the amount of cyber challenges and threats that we are dealing with. Nobody wants to take a chance or a risk, right? Not you. You would not want your bank or your healthcare provider to have someone who's a college grad who doesn't have the practical, production experience to put hands on that environment. You would not want. I would not want that for sure. I know. So we have to give them a safe place to practice those skills, right? I think there have been a lot of improvement in this area. One of them is having cyber ranges and having a lot of hackathons. Hackathon and many areas that can be utilized to do this. What we are doing, and then this is a little preview of what's coming up in the next couple of weeks, not even months, is we are setting up a national cybersecurity help desk as a commercial initiative that will give the entry point for those that are looking into get into the cyber. And the way we are doing this, and this is why all these years of working with CFF and the CFF community and leaders is why important, that we want to have as many people coming into cyber as possible, as diverse opportunity made possible, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to give this cyber help desk, or take this cyber help desk as the staging place for those that are trying to get into cybersecurity. And with that, you have a model. So what we have designed is about a pod. So pod would be a combination of 2 or 3 apprentices with 1 full-time or 2 full-time, senior person, probably a couple of years of experience, and then a supervisor over there, and that's shared across these pods, right? So with that model, what you have is you are able to have supervised production, experience, and front-end customer service experience that people can get, and then let them go work for the enterprise. Like, they have got a couple of years of experience, and we are trying to shift this left. If you're looking for some content and guidance, some structured framework to follow, you go to my LinkedIn or go to cyberfuturefoundation.org and frameworks. You will find what we call a transformation learning platform program, and that addresses the need at every level. And that is going to be kind of the framework for our discussion at Cyber Talent Week. There are three areas we are focusing. One is expanding the cybersecurity opportunity pool, right? So you make sure that you pull in as many as possible into this pool, and you can only do that by giving a little broad narrative. Right now, the narrative is, you can have to be a cyber defender, cyber threat hunter. There is so much other work that needs to be done. I need program managers, I need technical writers, I need testers, and I need so many different skill set. It's not just one cyber threat hunter I need. Well, that's an essential element, but I need to run a program. I'm not running a SOC, remember. So those that are tapping into and trying to get into cybersecurity, think about the various different skill set that could be applied. If you're trying to get into a cyber vendor space industry, I mean, we need exceptionally good marketing skills and exceptionally good articulation and visualization, UI, UX skills. They are not cyber threat hunters, but they can take the knowledge and they can articulate and present in way. Why do you like some app or some product better than the others? Because an artist is behind that. That's not a scientist. The scientist is doing all the back end work, right? So we are opening up the gates of opportunity to those that are beyond cybersecurity, just cybersecurity. Okay, so that's one area. Second is we are making sure that we provide landing zones for cyber opportunities, right? So everyone, and you probably, Renee, you have seen this too, and Chris, as a practitioner, you have seen, like, everyone aspires to do something different, have a change, learn something new. It's not just the entry level people. I've had identity access management architects, senior architects telling, I'm done with this. I want to go learn something new. I want to do something new, right? And do you think they get the opportunity? It would be very difficult for me to get an AD architect put into a SOC or a threat hunting position. It is as much a problem. I mean, you have the direct exposure probably, but it's as much of a problem, trust me, that I have had to convince, data security program leaders to take on someone who has not done that before, even though they're senior people. But the good thing is, they are next to each other. They can, they can learn over a period of time, and then they can get into the space. So how can we make sure we get those discussions happen in this remote environment? We can make those discussions happen virtually, right? So the coaching and the mentoring piece that needs to come in with this. And the third thing is making cybersecurity an essential element of business, right? So that's why in Cyber Talent Week, you will see a lot of leaders joining and talking about the things that they want to know, they need to know. And it is not all technical. Policy management, risk management, financial budgeting, organizational planning, all of these elements are required. And then, so Renee, you as a recruiter is our front door, right? So I hope you are demanding both from the candidate side, bring me more diversity, and also from the leadership side, you're asking to see how else can I help, right? I mean, it's not just I'm going to place a SOC analyst, I'm going to place an R&D man. How else can I help to diffuse cybersecurity into the organization rather than having only cybersecurity, CISO as your client? So I'll stop here. I can go on forever on this particular topic.
Well, I mean, I appreciate everything that you have to say, because that's the reason why we're all here. Like, Chris and I had people coming to us, and we have done. I mean, I've personally gone to CISOs and said, we know that, and CIOs and CTOs, and say, you don't need this level of experience for this role, or or this person could easily be transferable. Their skills can be transferable into this space, especially at that mid-level, which is where I think we're really hurting. It's just that I think there are a couple of factors that make leaders, managers, whatever, struggle with bringing the people in. So some of the points that you made in terms of, are you going to give the keys to the kingdom to a junior person? Of course not. But it seems as though there's all of this other angst around entry level, and I've been recruiting for 20 years, and this has been the most baffling space for me, because, and I haven't recruited medical professionals, but everyone else, there's always an opportunity for entry level people. When I did accounting and finance, you're not going to give your investment banking top client to the junior baby brand new person, right? There's a stepping stone, there's a ladder, they're under people getting experience and practicing and things like that. I was on a call the other night talking about this very topic, and the lady I was on a call with, who I hope she gets to be on this podcast very soon, I was saying, in the military, you're taking literal 18-year-olds and turning them into pilots in 18 months. Like, you can't sit here, folks, and I'm not saying you, Val, because obviously you're a solution to this problem, but folks want to sit around and say, like, people need all of this and you need all these extra years of experience and what have you. And in every other industry, people come with a basic level knowledge and get training to get into, to be proficient. Obviously, with some cover, you're not going to put the brand new 18-year-old in your best fighter pilot to just go off. But after experience, training, et cetera, they become proficient pilots. And this happens across the board. So it's always, I'm scratching my head like I've been scratching it for 5 years trying to figure out what the story is when it comes to this. So I so appreciate what you're doing in terms of doing, providing folks with training, the transferable skills piece, because again, an AD director, like you said, there's skills that they have, that seasoning, there's all these various factors that come into being a leader or someone that's a mid-career professional that you learn from just being in organizations and corporations and how to communicate and all that kind of stuff, that someone that's fresh out of college likely is not going to have. And that person can easily transfer. But there seems to be all of these additional barriers. So I'll be at the Talent Week. I definitely want to learn more, hear what leaders have to say, like, hear what are these supposed, not supposed, I know they're challenges, but how can we overcome them quickly and solve this? Because to me, it's a solvable, we have solutions. You sat here, you mapped out solutions. You've seen it done in Deloitte. You've seen it done in EY. I sat and listened to presentations from PwC. Like, this, companies are doing this, and it's weird that it's like this, you have this group that, or some folks that say that it can't be done, and you have this back and forth going on. So I truly appreciate it. I actually have to hop off here. So I look forward to meeting and participating in Talent Week and hearing from people. Oh, another thing I wanted to say is that recruiters typically, we want, our whole goal is getting people into roles. Like, we want more folks in. It makes our lives easier. Yeah. I hate to go back to the same 5 people and say, I got another job. You know what I mean? Like, you want to build that pipeline. So yeah. Anyway, let me hop off. This was wonderful. I'll listen to the rest of the conversation, and I look forward to participating on the 18th.
Excellent. Thank you. We welcome.
All right.
Thank you, Renee.
Val, to add to that, I think in addition to the private sector that we've talked about, we also have the government sector that is looking for ways to attract and retain talent, because I know they're competing with the private sector. So what are some of the ways that you've seen that they're trying to innovate recruitment and retention in that area?
Well, no, that's so important to our industry, and I think a lot of us come from the federal background, and most of us have led this challenge of building team, retaining team, especially the constraints that we have with they have with the government payroll system and the ranks, and then how much you can pay versus competing with the industry, right? So very tough challenge, but I do have to give a shout out to the current national leadership team. I mean, Jen and Kirsten and Director Easterly, and I'd say, now we have a fantastic cybersecurity leadership team in the country, and I couldn't be more proud to partnering and working with these leaders. By themselves, I think they're a brand. They can attract more people, but the thing is, how do we keep them, right? So I think if you think about what I recently got to learn about, the Director English's focus on workforce. He's trying to put a specific team on workforce. I'll share the link with this community after this call. But they are trying to establish a new avenue of workforce development around the country, and I believe most of this is in the public-private partnership model. Um, and honestly, this started, I think, at least a few years back, where it was openly said that you have young people who are coming out of school, go directly work for the government, learn as much as possible, and sharpen their skills, and then go back to the industry, and then come back with the work for the government and retire there, right? So I think that it will continue to be a revolving door, but I believe the federal there is no bigger customer, like looking at as a CISO or a cyber program. I mean, there's no bigger customer or an environment as complicated or as challenging as the federal government and the systems and the agencies that go in there, right? So if you're a true learner, I mean, your first 5 years, if you spend there, you can go solve any other problem. And the only one that you probably would be comparable is to the big banks, right? So it gives an amazing amount of opportunity to go solve. And then you can see probably a lot of our community leaders, they actually go to rotations 2 to 3 years. They will go spend, and most of the, say, Reserve Bank federal leaders, CISOs, it's a 2 year tenure, right? So follow the leaders, and that's what I think most of us do. Like, we go as parts. Again, you go, establish a program or fix some things that broken, then come out. I think until we fix the overall talent problem, we will still have an issue, however much incentives we have anywhere, whether it's private sector or it's public sector, doesn't really matter. Not everybody is motivated by the money, which is true even in the private sector. I've had the most amazing people. They could have gotten a job anywhere, but they love the team, they love the environment, they love the culture, and the challenges they face and solve day to day. So federal government has its own appeal, and the federal government agencies definitely need to have. They need to first create that many positions, and I'm sure a significant amount of folks who are with this pipeline, as we build and expand, they will stay in the government because there is so much to learn. And then as they get 3-5 years, they can probably come out and work in private sector. I think there are opportunities everywhere. It's just not limited by the constraints anywhere. Every organization, every environment has its own constraints.
No, I definitely agree. And then it is one of the topics that you plan to cover, or potentially that you had in one of your solutions, is how do we develop a pipeline that addresses people that are currently in the market, people that are coming into the market, and then that people that are still in the education system. How can we highlight cybersecurity as an area for them to consider? Because I've seen recent studies where they would interview college graduates and ask them if they have ever heard about cybersecurity, and the only time they've heard about it is when there's been a breach. But they didn't know that this was a career that they could consider, or even something that they've ever studied before. What can we do to raise that awareness earlier on in the process?
No, that's key to our success going forward as an industry, being able to successfully do what we were set out to do as professionals in the cyber industry, and it must start early. The earlier you start in these programs, and it has to be systemic, right? It cannot be just one school doing it or not. So I'll give you some of the great examples that I've seen, and most recently, I have been really blown by what I have seen at North Dakota. So they don't start just at K. I mean, they were pre-K problem, getting cyber as early as possible. So those discussions need to start early. They need to be in built into the education systems. And I think some states have already done it, so we don't have to reinvent things from the scratch. Of course, we're going to continue to refine, but I think look at the San Antonio ecosystem, right, in Texas. Look at North Dakota Bismarck ecosystem. Idaho is doing the same thing. I think that's why I think that I'm really excited about Cyber Talent Week, because then we can throw the spotlight on the things that are happening in places that could be kind of replicated in other parts of the country. and we can all collectively become stronger and add to this cyber talent pipeline. So that's definitely one thing. The second thing I believe is, we may have amazing content, we may have amazing experts and resources, and in this world of digital content, there's no dearth of it. Some stand out, definitely this podcast does. But we have to make this available and accessible and in front of the schools and students, right? They need to hear about these stories when they're in probably middle school or even sooner earlier, and it has much wider implication and impact than just uh, broadening the funnel of cybersecurity workforce. See, if we train, and not just if, now we are seeing this in practice. Say we are training 100 cybersecurity candidates. I will not say professionals or practitioners, or candidates, right? Who are curious, want to know, learn, may possibly go into industry. But those 100, maybe all of those 100 are not going to go into cyber as cyber professionals, but a lot of them are going to become developers. A lot of them are going to go into law, policy making, or management. And imagine the amount of impact it makes when they make a decision based on that information or cyber informed. And 50% maybe won't go do a technology job at all, but they are
Yeah.
consumers. And that's why we need to start early, because once we start early, we're in kind of putting in the cyber thinking into the brains of these early. And why it is important, because of our children, they spend the most time online. I mean, regardless of how much parental guidance and all you have, I mean, those apps really, they have to evolve in certain ways. Uh, but I think those children that are getting cyber informed earlier, they not only have a potential to become cyber practitioners, but most of them are going to become very secure cyber citizens. They're going to be safe, and they're going to help themselves to be safe and help other and their friends to be safe in the digital world. I mean, you think about Discord, you think about Minecraft. I mean, anywhere you go, I mean, all of this is digital. That's where our kids live now. So it has so much secondary impact in directly people's lives and kids' lives, right?
Yeah, and to share an example, pre-COVID, I I went to my son's elementary school as kind of talk about your profession day
Mhm.
and talk to them about the A to Z's of malicious threat actors and what they could do to protect themselves. And they were in um, uh, just before grade one, kindergarten. Yes, they're in kindergarten, and I love that the girls were asking more questions than the boys
Mhm.
when it came to like what can we do to protect ourselves, what can we do to be aware. So asking those types of questions, whereas the boys were like, how can I be a hacker and break into the system? Um, we need to be able to kind of promote as a career. So yeah, I was very surprised at the feedback and the input. And I think if every cyber professional did that, we would have an amazing impact on the school system.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm glad you did that. I hope more and more, dads and moms go and spend time, with their professional experience at the school. So, how many students, how many professionals we have? We have probably about 500,000 professionals, and maybe 250,000 of them are parents can go and teach their kids in school. I think that'd be amazing.
That would be amazing. But one of the challenge that I've seen from COVID is that you now have an outflow of teachers from teaching. So we
Yeah,
also need to kind of enable the teachers that are there to share that knowledge as well and to be able
yeah,
to do that because they're on computers at school.
hmm,
They're doing their assignments and apps online
yeah,
that are helping enable and magnify what the teachers might be able to do through
absolutely.
gamifications.
So much
And
potential.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
from the CFF point of view, what can we do to enable schools to be part of the solution as well, or school systems to help empower them?
I'm glad you asked that. I mean, this is one of those CFF moments, I would say. Back in 2018, we had the summit. During the summit, we made introduction between one of the school ISD CISOs with one of the ISAC. I think it was Global Resiliency Foundation, and unfortunately, this dear leader is not with us anymore. But she tried to, so she connected this to one of her leaders, and now we have a K through 12 ISAC and K126.org. Go there and find out that there is a very structured program now to get kids educated on cyber early and then actually bring them on to support school systems. So that's what K12-6 ISAC did, and that discussion actually started on the attendee floor of CFF. Two speakers came together and say, okay, we should do this for at a larger scale. And this guy, Eric goes and says, I'm already doing it in 2 ISDs or 3 ISDs. How can we get national? So I think one good opportunity that we have with the school systems is, we give this as a professional development opportunity or learning opportunity for the high school, and even middle schoolers can go work on labs, kind of maybe a little bit more structured boundary. But those high school students can help to protect their own schools, right? And that's how they get the first-hand experience. So that started right on the CFF floor, and we're very proud of that. And now that there is an organization actually working on enabling school and high school kids to protect their own schools and ISDs. Right. So let's do that nationally, right?
And since you talked about kids protecting their own schools, what's your thought of cyber as a vocation rather than a profession?
I think that's absolutely essential. Um, so you could do this as a hobby, you could do this as a part-time, or you could do this full-time. Doesn't really matter. There's definitely, I would welcome more people to join professionally, because there is an amazing durable career opportunity here, right? Once you're into cyber, unfortunately, there's a lot of burnout now because of the stress that we have. I mean, especially with COVID, we were thrown into many different situations. But I'll tell you, this is a field that I have been for the last 20 years, and I enjoy every bit of it, because there is new learning every day, new challenges to solve, right? And we solve this with really smart people. So as a vocation, if somebody wants to take it, I think they will quickly progress into make it a profession, right? So absolutely welcome people who want to join this just for knowing, learning, and the fun that's involved in solving cyber challenges and problems.
And then, kind of on that route, what if we follow the example of nursing or electricians and create apprenticeship pass for individual to come in and start with no experience, kind of do the smaller things while learning, like you mentioned in the pods, kind of that approach, but at scale.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you picked up one of my most favorite and things that I'm really passionate about. So we did a proactive proposal to DOL back in 2020, and that's how we started this whole cyber apprenticeship journey. So this is not this is not an aspiration anymore. It's actually a program. So if you go to apprenticeship.gov, you can actually search for cyber apprenticeships that are available, and this follows the exact path that you show. It's actually it's a little bit tough to define the cyber apprenticeship, but because of the way it's structured and the opportunities, it's not a very mature industry, right? We are still evolving as an industry, whereas the welding and the cutting and carpentry has been there forever. And IT industry hasn't invested so much in apprenticeship, but I think that's the key. It's a bridge between internship and a full-time job to bring in more people, give them a varied experience, but very structured experience where they're also getting paid. So if you need more information, there is plenty of resources available through CFF for cyber apprenticeship program. We have Safal.com. Safal Partners is our workforce development partner in this journey, and they work directly with the DOL to take this to different parts of the country. But apprenticeship is essential and is key, and absolutely we support that thoroughly in practice. I mean, this whole CS National Cyber Help Desk, a third of the workforce for National Cyber Help Desk is planned already to be apprenticeship, right? It's not like we are bolting this in, just like we don't want to bolt security into this. It should be by design. Uh, the business solution wise, for the talent solution, so apprenticeship is a must. It must be factored in, and it's a very economically viable solution. See, running global teams and working for global organizations, I have had teams around the world. And a lot of this is kind of labor and economic arbitrage. I have had teams in India, in Philippines, in Brazil, everywhere. And many times it was because of the cost factor, not just we got scale and amazing talent, and collectively we could solve things. But think about the economic opportunity that we have in this country, that we can unleash by giving opportunity to a certain bracket which financially works out. The minimum wage for apprenticeship is $18, and it can go as much as $32. So I can get, those leaders who are tuning in here, think about this financially. $18 to $32 for that entire year. You are somebody's training and learning and applying their own time to learn. It's a structured training, so 144 hours of training that's already planned and programmed into your into the delivery. So they're working for you for the rest of the 1600 hours. So 1600 hours plus 144 hours, 744 hours you're getting. You're getting free $550 worth of training that's available through DOL. A full year's worth of training. So why won't you take advantage of that? $18 to $32. That's your cost to run an apprenticeship per person. So if you want to stand up a team, make sure you plan for apprentices, and that way you're not only helping your team, your budget, but are also introducing new, cyber career journeymen into this program and into this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things that's really close to my heart is we have such a strong military that trains up individuals in certain verticals, but once they leave the military and they kind of lose that structure, that they don't know what to do. What's your thought on like skill bridges that also kind of use that apprenticeship model to help integrate these military service men and women back into the community?
Yeah, no, that's so vital for not only furthering or giving back to those that have served us, but also bringing them to new opportunities that they can contribute to, especially with those that I know those team members that I've hired from who have served. They bring an amazing amount of discipline. I mean, that discipline takes time, and they have already gained that discipline. They have gained the work ethics. It's just exceptional amount of kind of delivery perfection that you can bring in with someone. So if you are a cybersecurity leader, give an opportunity to a serviceman that has served this country, and you can do it in so many ways. There are lots of resources that are available. Apprenticeship is definitely one, and there are specific programs from the VA, and there are specific programs and combination of DoD and DOL also, which pays for the first year's worth of wages. See, the apprenticeship program for DOL that we have is specific to the training part. So we have some funding to pay for the training for those apprentices. There is another resource, if my memory serves right, look up Georgia Cyber Center and probably paste a link there. They have a program that they have funded. They can fund the wages for this. So if you're a business person looking for investing in someone who was coming, is a serviceman coming into the civilian society and looking for a profession, bring them as an apprenticeship. We will invest them in their training, and Georgia Cyber Center and a couple of other consortium members, they can pay for the wages. So collectively, it's taken care of. All you have to do is take a chance and give an amazing service person who has served this country a new career opportunity. And so take advantage of those resources. I think Chris, this is what kind of rattles me a little bit. There are so many resources that are out there that are known in pockets. If we are to pull that together, and provide one channel and funnel to help our industry, I think we have a lot of resources that we really not aware of, are not generally known, and they are in pockets. So this is one of those. Like for veterans, we have a program, government funded program, which they can take advantage of, both for training as well as for the wages.
Wow. Yeah, I knew some of the skill bridge does for a certain amount of days as you're doing the transition out. But that's great information. Thank you for sharing that. Like, I'm gonna share the links right now for everyone on there as well about the Georgia Cyber Center. We're approaching the top of the hour, and the way I kind of like to wrap things up is based on everything we've discussed so far, for someone trying to break in, from your experience, what would be one piece of advice that you would give them?
I will say that look for coaches and mentors. You are not looking, don't start looking for an employer. Okay, look for coaches and mentors, and there are Vals and Chris's out there who are carving out their times to help shape new teachers or new entrants in this field, and we really want you. And we will do everything to find opportunities to get you in. It might not be a dream job to start with, but you got to start somewhere. So look for coaches and mentors, and don't look for the first employer. Maybe those coaches and mentors will become your employer one day. And it's a two-way street, right? You have to do your side of the work, and we'll do our side. We'll make sure that the time we invest is well utilized. And if you're trying to break into this, pick up this amazing community of contributors that are there in cybersecurity. We need you more than probably you need us.
Yeah, I mean, we have such we claim we have such a shortage of cybersecurity individuals. I mean, I think it's a mindset that we need to pivot. That we need individuals that have cyber competencies, but they
Yeah.
don't necessarily need to be in a cyber role.
Yeah.
We can have security champions all across the organization,
Yeah.
and if we really integrate security into the culture, we might not need a role in cyber,
Exactly.
because we have someone in accounting that is focused on fraud and thinks about cyber. We have someone in help desk that's thinking about cyber. We have someone in software development that's thinking about cyber. We have someone in sales that's thinking about cyber. So if we all come together and put those parts of cyber together, we become stronger together.
Absolutely. Stronger together is the bottom line, is the key. You can never have for 1,000 people company or a 10,000 people company, all of them cannot be cybersecurity team in the cybersecurity team, but you are, right? With
Yeah.
your knowledge, your awareness, and your keenness to solve this problem, you are. So yes, please contribute in that way. You don't need to be in the cyber team, but you are the cyber team as an organization.
Wow. Well, we've been here close to an hour, so I
It's
think,
already an hour. Wow.
yeah, I know. It's been amazing. I'd like to just wrap things up, folks. On LinkedIn, follow us. Follow myself. Follow Val. Follow the Cyber Future Foundations. We've shared lots of links in the chat, both here on LinkedIn as well as on YouTube. And what we'll do is we'll update the show notes with some of those links. That way, you all have access to them after the fact. For those of you following us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. That way, the next time we're here, you can pop up. And for those of you following us on podcast, this was an amazing episode, at least in my eyes. So give us a 5-star review and share it with friends and family that's interested, because like Val and I were just saying, stronger together, we can create that solution for today, tomorrow, and the future. Thanks all for joining, Val. Thanks for joining.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.